Out of the 24 years that I served in Walpole State Prison, I probably did like 17 years, 18 years in segregation. And I did long stretches. There were short times, but the longest one was 10 years I spent down there. So it was the last time in 10 block. From there, I served the other 7 in DDU. The crazy thing about it was I started out with 1 year, and it turned into a big monster, 7 years. And pretty much as I explained on the last one, I was falsely labeled as a reason to justify for them to take me from one segregation to put me to a level 7. Because I left from a level 6 to a higher level. The purpose why I refused is because I was having trouble mentally in dealing with segregation for so long. And really there, you hardly ever see a counselor comes by. He comes by, he'll spend 2 minutes with you, want to give you all the medication you want. But it doesn't solve the problem mentally, because what happens, your mind deteriorates little by little. You forget the days, you forget the time. Sometimes I had trouble, I didn't even remember who I was. It was really frustrating for me in that closed environment, because it's like a closet. And when they took the TVs away, it was even more difficult. From the 10 years that I served in 10 block, I went next door, and it's called Disciplinary Department Unit, DDU. It's underneath the ground. I served 7 there. Actually, I started, like I said, 1 year, and it turned to 7 years. That unit was built deliberately to break people down mentally, to break them down. There was a special report from a doctor from California who came, a psychiatrist. He's a psychiatrist for the United States State Prisons on segregation. He made it clear to the judge that if a man even stays here 3 days, he can lose his mind. He said it's a dangerous place, because they filed a lawsuit against it. But for some reason, the courts didn't want to intervene. They said that when it comes to security, the Department of Correction can do whatever they want. And so I refused for that reason to go there, because I was having mental problem. Today I've been diagnosed with that, so it just didn't start today or 2001. I had this way before I went to 10 block. And unfortunately, it just got worse when I went to 10 block for them 10 years, and it got even worse more and 7 years in DDU. That unit is built deliberately to break people down mentally and emotionally and physically. I probably weighed 90 pounds from 205 pounds that I came from population. The food, they serve very little. They play mind games with food. If they didn't like you, they didn't feed you. If you said something wrong, they didn't feed you. When you first there for the first month, they give you 1 visit, 1 phone call. The second month, they give you 2 phone calls, 2 visits, and they give you a radio. You can hardly get anything in the radio there anyways, probably 1 or 2 stations. Then 3 months, you'll get 3 visits and 3 phone calls and a TV. And then on the 4th month, it's the highest that you get is 4 visits, 4 phone calls. The problem is with that is if you said something wrong once again, or you got a disciplinary shot, meaning misbehavior for some reason, they'll take everything away from you. You'll wait 2 months, and then they start giving it to you. It's like a modification behavior type of tactic. It's a way to control people and their behavior. Staff, they don't really care. You don't see them at all, and when they do, they come geared up. They come all suited up. And just because it's a level 7, it's a real high security, you cannot be removed out of that cell without cuffs and shackles. Anytime, even if you're gonna go see the nurse, you're escorted by 4. If individuals act up, they have this special chair, and they tie you down to it, like a 3-point restraint, and they pick you up and carry you. Now, I have heard of stories, and I didn't personally see it, but I've heard of stories where officers didn't like the inmate. While carrying him, they let him fall down the stairs. And some has died behind that. There's been a lot of deaths there, and a lot of it was done by guards doing it to inmates, because really the inmate has no contact with nobody. You have no contact with nobody, not even another inmate. In fact, to talk to the guy next door, you got to scream so loud, because the way the walls are designed is soundproof. The doors are soundproof. When you go out to the kennels, now let me explain what a kennel. You ever seen a dog kennel where they put dogs in? Well, that's how our yard is. It's probably about this wide, and I would say it's a good 10 feet, 10 feet long, and you walk back and forth. They have these screens where you can talk to the guy next door, but you don't know who you're talking to because they block it out. It's a green screen so that you don't have no eye contact with nobody. Pretty much you don't have any contact with nobody at all. When you're there, you know you're isolated. You're isolated. You even can feel your family isolated. I mean, even your mail. Sometimes you get mail and they don't give it to you for 3 or 4 weeks later, sometimes 2 or 3 months. Most of the time they throw it away. You don't know if your mail is going out. You don't know nothing. In other words, you're like, it's designed to, how can I say it the right word, where when you don't know what's going on, it dislocates your thoughts, and that's what this is designed to do. It really is a dangerous place, and it's really not healthy. That's the reason why I refused to cuff up, because I already knew I was suffering from mental illness. I went through a lot in them 10 years. During that time, of course, in 10 block. In fact, I took the beating right after my mother died. When I left 10 block to go to DDU, the first thought that came to me is that I'll never make it out alive. I was scared for the fact that it was a unit where I can get killed very easily. I can get hurt, I can get murdered very easily, and they can get away with it. DDU has a reputation for a lot of death, once again, as I explained, by officers. Yeah, I was scared. And so I thought I was going to die. I even told my mother and my father that. I called them before I left. I said, I'm going to DDU. If you don't hear from me, get a lawyer, contact these people. And in fact, when I took that beating, it was the nurse who called my mother. No, I'm sorry, called my father. My father got a lawyer, and that's how they got pictures, and that's how I got that video, because I went to court and I got a court order to get that video after they beat me. But if it wasn't for the nurse, nobody would have known nothing. They could have killed me, and nobody would have known nothing. That's the part that I really feared. And while I lived there, I feared the whole entire 7 years. I was always afraid. I didn't show it. But, I tell you what, I think fear, it's good for people to fear. Why I say that? Because if you fear, then you're afraid of doing whatever you're going to do. Or it puts you alert. And what it does is, it's a tool that is good in its human behaviors. I mean, it's real simple. Some people say I'm not afraid, but I don't even believe that. It's always good to be afraid, because it always puts you on guard. And as long as you're on guard, you're aware of what's going on, you can avoid situation. So fear, in a way, it does help in that sense. So I feared because it put me on point. It told me where I was going to go. And it also let me know that I may not come out alive. I was surprised when I came out alive. I really was surprised. I was sentenced to DDU for 1 year for STG, involvement in security threat group with gang members. I went down there with 1 year to serve, and what happened was because I don't get along with staff, they don't get along with me. If they disrespect me, I disrespect them back. So we can have a conversation, and he can say something stupid, and I'll come back and I will probably say something stupid back. There goes a disciplinary shot. So every time I get a shot, a disciplinary shot, even if you say, let's just say F you to the officer, that's a threat. That's a threat. So they give you a disciplinary for threat. So every time you get a shot, they put additional time to your sentence that you're serving. Now, to explain what shots are, the disciplinary report, we call them shots. And that's what happened. So I kept getting shot after shot, or disciplinary report after disciplinary report, and it increased my time. So from a little sentence, even though DDU, a year is a long time, it became a big monster to 7. I know guys who's doing 15 years. Now, the maximum you can do by law is 15 years. Now, that was a long time ago. I don't know if they extended that anymore. I don't know if it's a lifetime down there now. I know it's a crazy place. Everybody that comes out of there, mentally disturbed. I don't know how I did it. I really don't know how I did it. I know that I'm strong, but I just don't. I thank God that I made it out of there, and I still got a little bit of this intact. But it did affect me. I can tell, and people can tell. The captain that runs that unit, if you see the video, and I want to point this out, at the end, if you watch it carefully, as the guys are walking out after they left me in a dry cell, we call it dry cell, that's a observation, they got cameras for one day you go there. He turns around, he tells one of the officers, he's a coward. He called me a coward. Here I go, I'm fighting for my rights because I'm suffering from mental illness, I don't want to go down there, and he calls me a coward. You know, a coward is a person who cuffs up, according to the rules of prison. Anyways, if I didn't cuff up, I would have problems with the inmates because that was agreed to before they came and got me at a 10 block. It was 240 guys, we discuss it, everybody yells, we send those to each other. And unfortunately, I was the first guy to open up the unit. I didn't think that was gonna happen. But because I did, when they came to my door, I was afraid. I was afraid. I'm looking at 6, 7 guys, they're suited up, they look like football players, they're about 6'2", they're over 200 pounds. I was probably weighing maybe 90 pounds at the time. And yeah, I was afraid. Of course I was afraid. But I did it for a reason. I did it because I suffer from mental illness and then that wasn't providing me no help. And I'm not gonna let them give me every drugs they want. Because what they're doing, they were overdosing people there. That's what they do. They overdose you to keep you look like a zombie. And as long as they got you as a zombie, they got control of you. And when you're like that, they abuse you even more. So I've seen this 100 times. This wasn't the first time that I had this situation when they came in on me. They used excessive force on me. Actually, it was 4 times. That I remember 4 times I did it. I went up against them, I refused to cuff up. This here is probably actually no, this is the 3rd. Because I did it in DDU also. There was one time they came in on me and they hurt me again. I've been in the same unit where I know for a fact they killed a guy. I mean, we're all screaming everything. I mean, we can watch them going by out of the door. There's a little window, crack window, about this big. And you can see, you stand and you can see them walking by with the guy. I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff where I even heard the nurse says, "Oh, there's a guy called Freight Train." Let me tell you this story. No, and I don't blame nobody. This man weighs 665 pounds. They use this man for the #1 guy in front, and he don't even need a shield. Freight Train has reputation. Once the guy down, he steps on your neck, and he cracks it, and he kills you right there. He snaps your neck. So he has such a reputation. So when they bring him in, everybody cuffs up. Nobody wants Freight Train to come in. He came in once on me. Well, actually, he was about to. When they put him in front of the door, they only use this for guys who refuse a lot. I was one of the guys that refused a lot to come out of my cell. But every time I see Freight Train, I will cuff up because I didn't want that man to kill me. I mean, 665 pounds. Even the officers talk about it. Yeah, he deliberately fell on the guy. I mean, he sits on you and you're dead. While you're down, you're cuffed like this and your neck is in an angle. And what he does, he hits a certain part of your body up in the upper neck and he snaps your neck and you're dead. He has a reputation of killing people in Walpole. But he has such a reputation, isn't out there. And nobody does nothing. The administration don't even care. They turn the other way. And I'm afraid of him. Definitely 665 pounds. I ain't messing with that man. Now the problem is they do this only to guys in segregation. Why? Because they isolate it. If you was out in population, they would not mess with you. Because if I had 3 or 4 officers come to me and start something with me, they're gonna get surrounded by 200 or 300 people. And that's how we did. We backed each other up in population because they're very brutal. They're very brutal and they don't have a problem hurting you. Back then, life was that way. Life was violence in there. It didn't matter what. If you came in from the street and you was just a regular small-time marijuana dealer, you left out of there as a killer. Cold-blooded killer, because that's just the way of life. Yeah, how I passed my time in DDU is another whole different chapter, but really wasn't nothing to do. You have to create things. I spent my time a lot reading. I love to read. I'm self-taught. I got into actually, you know something? I went to college, and I almost forgot that. I enrolled in college. The federal was giving a grant at that time federal prisoners, no, state prisoners, I'm sorry. I was doing state time. It's called PLAP, I believe. They stopped the funding, but I was able to take advantage of it for 2.5 years. I was going into my associate degree in science. I was studying ancient religion. I was able to educate myself, and then I got into a religion called Kabbalah. I'm a Kabbalist, I'm an adept. I also, while I was in college, they told me that I had it because I was going ancient religion. They told me in order for me to get my credits, I have to take at least 3 modern religion. And I did. I went to a biblical college on the side. It was paid for. They gave me a license. Actually, I have an ID. I'm an official reverend. I have enough knowledge as a reverend. I'm titled as a reverend. If I can put Reverend Daniel, whatever, if I want to. And it's legit. It's signed by the governor of that state and by the Archbishop of that state. So I got something out of this. I didn't finish it because
you were doing this while you were down in DDA?
I was doing this because I have to do something to keep myself occupied. Besides that, I did a lot of drawing. I like to sketch. Actually, all the tattoos I have on me is my sketches. They're personal. I do that. I like to write a lot. I started writing a book about religion. I ended up losing it during the years. Actually, I started 2 books. And besides that, I stretch, I work out, exercise, calisthenics in the room. I do a lot of, I stand in one spot with a towel on the floor and just jog back and forth and get a sweat. Cardio. They don't like to see that. If you're doing a lot of cardio, because they think that if you're doing a lot of that, you're preparing to fight them, because it takes wind. To fight 7, 8 guys coming in, it takes a lot of wind. In 10 block, I was not exercising, so they got me. They got me good. Anyways, besides that, I sleep. And it's hard to sleep there because you don't know when they're coming in. That's the scary part. You're sleeping there and you're wondering when are they going to come in. They do come in unexpected. They bring in weapons. I've seen them bring in firearms, M16 rifles. They have these things that shoots bing bags, shotgun, and they shoot you and they do damage. In fact, there was a guy they shot him in the chest and they ended up breaking his chest. He died. I mean, they just cracked his bone and everything. He died, the impact killed him. So that has a powerful, powerful impact. I never want to get hit one of them. They pull it out, I'm putting my hands up. I'm dropping to my knees. I'm not trying, I don't want no drama like that. But yeah, they're scary people, so it's difficult to sleep there. So I developed a sleeping disorder because of that. If I hear a noise, where I'm at, I'm up, I'm listening, I'm looking in the window because I don't know who it is. You also have to stand count. Every count time when they lock in, well, we're locked in, but when they do count, it's called count in population, they do it in segregation. They come by and you have to stand. When they come by, if you don't stand, they give you a disciplinary report. That's another thing too. I didn't bother to get up. I'm saying I'm in segregation. Why do I have to stand? I'm not in population. I did letters to my family. I always kept in contact with my family. I think the only contact I really had that was permanent was with my family. The old friends that I had and my relationships that I had, it all little by little deteriorated. I didn't have any of that. But my family always stuck by me, and I owe them thank you. And I love them, every one of them, I love them. Until today, it's still there for me. So family is important. But yeah, once you're in there, you're dislocated from your whole family and from life. So you don't know what's going on. You don't know nothing about technology. You don't know anything about the news. The only thing you hear is prison news. Sometimes the officers are cool, where they come in and they tell one inmate what's going on. Like if there's a prison riot, we don't know about it. We'll know about it through them. In fact, when I was down there, 92 happened. The same year I went down, there was a prison riot in the yard. And that lasted almost 2 days. It was 600 one side and 800 on the other side. And they were shooting live rounds and they killed a few people. The guys killed a few of the guys fighting. And it was a racial war. It turned to racial war. That's when they locked down Walpole. The visit was contact, no longer contact. It was all through glass windows. It's funny, I had a dream about that last night too, now that I think about that. But yeah, my memory still goes back there. I'm going to move forward regardlessly, but I can't forget about my time in DDU. I can't forget my time in 10 Block. I can't forget my time I served in the state, period, in Walport. And I can't forget my time I served with the feds, especially when I went to California, which that would be a whole different, another story, another time. I'll tell you stories about there. Stories that would turn, make your stomach spin and make you sick. I've seen a lot of stuff in Walpole. I've seen them in segregation. It's a scary place. When you do segregation, you're always on alert. When you spend a lot of time being that way, you become that person. So I did everything I possibly can to keep myself busy. And a lot of it was reading. I was able to do a lot of reading. And that's really pretty much, I didn't have a TV. I didn't have a radio. Because they gave it to me one time, and because I had an issue with an officer, and I told him to get out of my face, they come in, and they come in like deep, like 6, 7, and they take the TV and radio from me. So I said, you know something? I don't want it back. You're not going to control me with this TV radio. I don't need it. You know? And so they took my radio, and then when they tried to offer me, they begged me to give it back to me. Now they knew that I wasn't going with their program. See, I tell you, that's designed to break you. It's designed to break a man and turn him into a woman. Or if it's a woman, to turn the woman into a man. But it's designed to break you and change you for the worse. It's not to help you. It's different if it was going to help you. It makes you more meaner, more colder, more vicious. It numbs you, you know. And it's sometimes, you know what's crazy? That a lot of this anger, and when I heard people talk to their family, they're screaming at their family, and it's really not their family that they're mad at. It's what the administration is doing to them while they're in segregation, and they're so frustrated that they take it out on their families. Sometimes I know these guys, later on we talk, I say, yo, listen, I heard that conversation with your mom or with your pops. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to mind your business, but remember, focus this, my man. They didn't do anything to you. It's this place what's making you turn into your monster. Don't turn on your family. It's the only ones you got. And later on, they get mad at first, but later on they say, yo, Danny, you know something? I said, what's up, bro? You okay? He says, yeah, I just want to apologize, man. I didn't mean to get mad at you. You're right. This place is designed for you to hate everybody. And this is what I'm saying. Like I said, 17, 18 years, I did it. I don't know how, but I'm here telling you about it today. And believe me, I have a lot of stories.